Welcome back to the AFL Redraft series, where this time I'm going to be redrafting the 2014 AFL Draft. And now it was only sort of 10 years ago since this draft happened, so most of the players, in fact all of them, are still playing. A lot of their career is yet to come, so this will change in the course of the years, but I'm doing this as of now, not projecting for the future, almost as if all their careers pause now. Before we get into it, make sure you like, subscribe. You can watch all my redrafts. I've done loads of them already on the channel, so watch them as well on the channel, and then follow the TikTok FTFooty. Starting off in a respectable 10th place, I've got a key position player who originally went to the Port Adelaide Football Club. Originally pick 56, now playing for the St Kilda Football Club, I have gone with Dougal Howard. Now pick number 10 went to Geelong, who did choose Nakia Cockatoo, which I don't blame him, very talented player, but Geelong could have had a key defender to take over Harry Taylor. I know they've always been pretty good with their key defenders, so maybe they wouldn't have chosen him. And if you're not sure how this redrafting series works, I'm not just going 1 to 10, the best player at 1, the best player at 10. I'm trying to look at this from the scope of a drafter. What does a team want? What position's more important? Which is why most of the time in these redraft series, you won't see many rucks in the sort of top 10, because generally rucks aren't that important, apart from, you know, the Gorns, the knickknacks and stuff. Dougal Howard, obviously a phenomenal player for Port Adelaide, and even better for St Kilda, where he's sort of solidified one of the best defenses in the league, him and Callum Wilkie. He's a great player, he's a good leader, he's reliable, he's good defensively, offensively, and his 10th place, you know, works for me. At 9th place, look, originally I had this guy quite a lot higher, but then I sort of brought him down for a couple of the betrayals, you could almost say. I've got Adam Sard. Adam Sard, he obviously went to the Gold Coast Football Club. Now, he would have gone to the Collingwood Football Club if he had have gone at pick 9. Collingwood chose a player at pick number 9 who I'll go into in a little bit, which obviously means he's a very good player. But Adam Sard was originally pick number 25 in the rookie draft, which just shows you how good of a steal that actually was for the Suns. Now, what I referenced before, the reason I'm not having him that high is because, you know, the betrayal at Essendon, he going to a rival club, a club where traditionally they don't trade too much all, you know, between each other, Carlton and Essendon, but he made that trade. He is a phenomenal defender, so reliable. I think defensively he's super underrated. Like, people focus on his attacking ability, his speed, the bounces he gets, but defensively he's solid. And, you know, he's always worthy. He's always up there, sort of, you know, all Australian shouts, but there are 8 better players or 8 better draftees if I was a drafter. And yeah, that's why I got him at number 9. At number 8, I've got high-flying Isaac Heaney. Now, Isaac Heaney obviously went to the Sydney Football Club. He would have gone to the Gold Coast Suns if he had gone at pick number 8. Now, Gold Coast Suns chose Peter Wright, who, that's a tumultuous trade. They send him off to Essendon, and he turns into one of the best forwards in the comp. And he would have worked perfectly at the Suns. I feel like he's, you know, quite a loyal player, unlike Adam Sard, who, you know, if he had gone to Collingwood, who knows, probably would have left it by then. But you know, Heaney to the Suns, I guess it works, who knows. Now, Heaney originally went at pick 18. I also don't think I mentioned this, but Dougal Howard went at pick 56. Heaney at pick 18 is probably roundabouts where he should be. I feel like with Heaney, you get someone who has that X factor, someone who draws crowds in. So as a player, he's probably not the 8th best here. He's probably 10th, maybe even down to sort of 11th, 12th, but I just feel like that X factor he has puts him higher in the draft. And, you know, because it's pretty rare to come across players who have that X factor, despite the fact that he can go missing in games. In 7th place, I have got Mr. Reliable. You could even put him higher, but this is a pretty stacked draft, so, you know, take all things into consideration. I've got Angus Brayshaw. Now, Angus Brayshaw obviously went to the Melbourne Football Club. He was originally picked number 3, which, you know, I guess is pretty fair. He has been a solid midfielder, a solid winger, a solid defender. So extraordinarily versatile in his position, which is, you know, obviously of note if you're a draftee. Pick number 7 went to the GWS Giants. They chose Paul Ahern, which didn't go well. I don't even know if he's playing for North anymore anyway, but the Giants could have had Angus Brayshaw. I mean, who remembers in I think it was 2018, where Brayshaw came 3rd in the Brownlow, and I don't even think he was invited. Like, pretty fucking underrated player. Melbourne fans will know how good he is. I feel like he's the reliable one who plays amazingly when the team is shit or when the team is good. He's never like, you know, this amazing talent who is lighting up the scene, but is always consistently an 8 out of 10. So you could argue he could be higher. But I feel like 7th is pretty respectable, and we'll finish there. Now we start to get into the hot and juicy stuff. This is gonna annoy a lot of St Kilda fans. Now, this player originally didn't go to your club. He went to the Giants first as his first draft club. It's Jack Steele in 6th place of my redraft. Obviously went to the Giants at pick 24 originally. Pick number 6 was Caleb Marchbank, who also didn't work out for the Giants. But still, people might forget that he did start at the GWS Giants with his long, luscious locks. But, people obviously know him for St Kilda. St Kilda fans will hate me. I mean, this guy, when he is fit, which I think is important to note because, one of the sayings you'll hear a lot on this channel is availability is the best ability. I don't care if you can play 10 games a year and be BOG. Well, maybe not that much, but if you are just not that fit all the time, then that's going to bring you down a lot because you'd rather someone consistently fit than that player who has bursts and then is unfit. So it's not his fault, especially in recent history, he's been getting injured. I feel like 4 or 5 years ago, he was really going strong. It was always him and Touk Miller were the conversation. Jack Steele at 6th place. Look, when I can't really reference why is in 6 in comparison to the top 5 because I'm going to save the top 5. I'm not going to speak about them now. Not going to spoil the video. But Jack Steele, captain, good quality, very good midfielder. I would never say he's been a top 10 midfielder in the comp, in my opinion. I think there was that one season where he was stringing together a fucking Brownlow start of the season. It was either the start or the end where he was turning into prime Steele. But in terms of a whole season's work, I've never really, maybe top sort of 12, not sort of top 8, I would say. There's always been those better midfielders. And that might be because of the club he plays for. St Kilda have never, for the last 6-7 years, they have not been a powerhouse club. I mean, they've made finals twice, going out once, only winning one of the 3 finals they've played. So they've made finals twice, played 3 finals, won 1. And unfortunately for Steele, maybe because St Kilda haven't had the most amazing squad or the most stability up in the coaching department, it might be hard for him to flourish, which I understand that, but unfortunately that's just the way the world has worked for him, and I think I'm comfortable putting him in 6th place. And I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that. I seem to slander St Kilda a lot on this channel. I'm sorry, but game's a game. Now, before we get into my top 5, we're gonna go through some honorable mentions. There are loads. This is a fucking stacked draft, so there are loads of honorable mentions who I could easily see a world where anyone in the comments could argue they should be in the top 10. And by the way, you put your top 10 redraft in the comments. Let me know where I've gone wrong. I'm sure, I'll fuck this up. Caleb Daniel and Bailey Dale, 2 Western Bulldogs players who I think definitely had the potential. I think Caleb Daniel especially, he for the last 7-8 years has been a really consistent player, versatile, especially in defense though. Someone that small being that good is really impressive. Bailey Dale is sort of kind of taken over as the better defender for the last 3 years, but he wasn't firing before that. Jake Lever is really unfortunate to miss out. I very much rate key position players as a key defender. He was originally sort of 9th or 10th in my list, but upon reflection, I just prefer Dougal Howard as a player. I feel like Jake Lever relies on defenders around him in the system to be a good player. As soon as he has to play one-on-one on a forward, he's not that good. But when, he has a rolling midfielder coming back to help defense and he can be that free defender, then he's phenomenal. But I feel like Dougal Howard's more versatile and a better defender than Lever, which is why I put him over Lever. Lockie Weller, unfortunate, but he just hasn't been good enough. Ed Langdon, really unfortunate. Obviously won the flag for Melbourne. Has always been a great winger, both for Fremantle and Melbourne, but probably not there. Arguably the most unfortunate to miss out, and the one who I just couldn't sneak him in there. I wanted to put him in, I honestly did, but I feel like the body of work of the other players might be there. It's Braden Maynard. Now hear me out. Maynard could easily go above Heaney, Sard and Howard. I think the top 7, like Brayshaw, Steele, and the players I'll mention in the later in the video, he can't go above them. But I feel like Heaney, Sard, Howard are interchangeable with the likes of Lever, Maynard, and some others I go in a sec. Maynard, really unfortunate. I love Maynard as a player, despite the fact I hate Collingwood and I don't like him when, we play against him because of how good he is, of how much of a team player he is, how passionate he is. He is just a really good defender. He is a big reason why Collingwood is successful with his leadership skills as well. But I don't know, maybe he just hasn't stood out enough for me. Maybe he's unfortunately just hasn't had the All-Australian accolades and stuff as others have. And then a bit of a shout out to my boys, Jaden Short and Kane Lambert. Kane Lambert and, well, for that matter, Shane Edwards. Kane Lambert is one of the most disrespected and underrated players in recent AFL history. And Jaden Short has just been phenomenal for Richmond and has started to become a leader as well. Top 5 time. In 5th place, I've already mentioned him. I sort of chucked him in there, to see if you guys noticed. Touk Miller finishes in 5th place of my AFL redraft. Now, Touk Miller originally went at pick 29. Obviously, goes to the Gold Coast Suns, where he's still there. You know, one of the players who seems to stay there. He would have gone to the Collingwood Football Club, who in 5th place chose a player who I'll mention a little bit later as well. So Collingwood have done very well in this draft. Touk Miller is unfortunately, you know, not higher up because of the team he plays in. If he played for a Collingwood, if he played for a Melbourne, if he played for pretty much any other team, well, not any other team, but a team that was successful or good. I mean, he's never played in a final, which is remarkable to me. I think him and Steele definitely deserve 5 and 6. It's what order you put them in. I just prefer Touk Miller. I prefer him as a player. I think they're both great leaders, obviously captains of their respective clubs. Very similar players, great tacklers, can hit the scoreboard, good inside, and you know, they're actually alright as outside midfielders as well. But I just prefer Touk Miller. Yes, he had a massive injury last season, but before then, I feel like he was more fit than Jack Steele, which is kind of why I put him above. And personal preference, when I watch them, he feels like a better player when I'm watching him to the eye. Top 4 now. In 4th place, I've gone with the key defender, Harris Andrews. There's one more key defender coming up who, you know, I'll go about in a sec. Harris Andrews in 4th place. Now, originally went at pick 61, which is a steal for the Brisbane Lions. I'm sure they weren't thinking they'll get such a great player to their club. Could easily go higher. I mean, this guy could probably be 2nd place for a lot of people, maybe even 3rd, but I put him in 4th place. I have never rated Harris Andrews that highly. I feel like for the last 6-7 years, he's obviously been really good, but I feel like, you know, there are a bunch of key defenders. The guy who's higher up in this redraft, I feel like is currently better and has been. Stephen May for parts of his career. I don't know, I just feel like there's always been, you know, Wiedering, I feel like I've rated higher up than this guy before. There are a couple other names. Harris Andrews is a phenomenal player, phenomenal leader, but I feel like sometimes he gets caught out as a defender and he has those sort of lapse of concentration, which is why he's maybe not in the top 3. Now, he would have gone to the GWS Giants, who chose Jared Pickett at pick number 4, which didn't work out. Giants having Taylor and Harris Andrews in that team would be fucking stacked. That's another one who I think is better as well, Sam Taylor. But Harris Andrews, unlucky not to be in top 3, hasn't won anything. He's played in a grand final. Who knows? By the end of 2024, Brisbane might have won the flag. He might have been All-Australian. Obviously, he's been multiple Australian winner. He might be higher on this list, but we're doing this. I'm recording this as of February 2024. So the season hasn't started, okay? And I might post this a lot later, so bear that in mind. On to my top 3, where I start 3rd place with a Collingwood player. This guy's explosive. He could easily be number 1 in terms of, if you look at who you want to draft, this guy has the X factor. He has the big game mentality, which I think is something these top 3 players have. Amazing in big games, stand up in big moments. I've got Jordan De Goey. Now, Jordan De Goey, I feel like 3rd place suits him. I don't want to put him high because I feel like the other 2 players are better. The other 2 players are more important to systems of that team, and they play in a position where I feel like are pivotal for that club. Now, the other thing with Jordan De Goey is the off-field incidents. I feel like I'm taking that into account in this redraft. He could easily go a little bit lower if you consider that a little bit more. The fact that he is very distracting. I feel like he's solved it now, but there were those years where, or like 4, 5, maybe even 6 years, where there was always an incident with him. A lot of which I'm not going to go into on this video, but I'm sure everyone knows what I'm talking about. So he attracts a lot of unwanted attention to the club, but he seems to have fixed all that up, finally. Even things with like contracts and stuff. So might be like a pain in the ass. Seems to be very popular with teammates based off videos you see and stuff, so maybe we had the wrong perception of him. Him as a player in isolation is just great. He's finally been that player who we all knew he could be. Like, you know, sort of 4, 5, 6 years ago, we knew what De Goey could do. In 2018, he sort of exploded onto the scene, and we were all waiting. After 2018, we were thinking, okay, this guy's gonna be, he could win a Brownlow. Like, he could go in the midfield, score goals moving forward, be that player. He hasn't quite reached those heights, like Brownlow heights, but for me, you know, 2023, he was probably top 10, maybe top 15 players. And I just think that X factor, the big games, like the grand finals he's played, he's arguably been one of the best players on the ground. He stands up, he's exciting to watch, he captivates fans, and that's why he's in 3rd place. Originally went at 5th place, who I've taken Touk Miller there. Now 3rd place would have gone to the Melbourne Football Club, which I think is something cool. Would he have suited Melbourne? Maybe. I mean, he's basically a carbon copy of Clayton Oliver right now. Both Oliver's going through his controversial era. But De Goey in 3rd is completely fair, and you'll understand why when I talk about my top 2. In 2nd place, I've got the man who I think is a better defender than Harris Andrews. I got Darcy Moore, also for the Collingwood Football Club. Originally, Darcy Moore, father-son win at pick number 9. 2nd place was going to Melbourne. who chose a player who I'll go about later, who's obviously picked number 1. Darcy Moore and Jordan Agoe could have been linking up in Melbourne, or at the Melbourne Football Club, which would have been a pretty handy duo. Darcy Moore, what a player. I mean, captain of a premiership winning team, all Australian, the accolades there. I feel like early on in his career when he was struggling up forward, we didn't know what his position was. That was a bit concerning, but I felt there was always a player there. And, you know, for the last several years, he has turned into, I think, probably consistently the top 3 defenders. You know, I feel like Sam Taylor, him, and maybe one of Wiedering, Harris Andrews, Stephen May, those sorts of players, he's always among them. But particularly with Darcy Moore, it's that leadership he possesses, the big games, the things he does. Like, if you just watch him, Collingwood fans will know. I feel like some people underrate him because they think he's overrated. I don't know if that makes sense, but I honestly think he is, if you take him out of Collingwood's side, they are such a worse team, like so much worse. He is so responsible for that defensive line and a big reason why they won the flag. And probably in 3-4 years' time, probably another big reason why they've won 2 flags. Captain of one of the biggest clubs in the land. Very, very hard thing to do. I mean, taking over Pendles, how the fuck are you meant to do that? What a task. He took over Glenn Maxwell, which is another task. He's done great. I think he's just such a special player. And I feel like he's just going to keep getting better, which is scary. Now to my first place, who I have got. Originally when I picked number 2. So obviously Melbourne knew what they were getting. Obviously he went to Melbourne. A non-Brownlow winner yet. I don't know how he's not won one yet, but he's won the Norm Smith. I've got Christian Petrarca. Now track, if he would have gone at pick number 1, which he has gone in this redraft, he would have gone to St Kilda, obviously, who chose Paddy McCartan. Really unfortunate. Probably should have been top 10 if he just got his body right and the concussion things didn't happen. Very unfortunate story, but we'll keep going on Petrarca here. Deserves number 1. Easily number 1. He was guaranteed. I mean, the biggest big game player here. He's literally won the Norm Smith. He has performed on big stages year after year. He's like 4-time All-Australian winner, something like that. And he's just gonna keep getting All-Australians. Definitely the second best player in the comp and has been for the last 3-4 years. Bont, Petrarca, maybe Cripps along the way there. Easily deserves number 1. Better than the rest. I don't really need to mention too much about why he's better than 2nd to 10th. But Petrarca, we all know what he is as a player. He's now learning how to move forward a bit more and kick more goals. Plays a forward line player, not just a midfielder. Special talent, great leader. Seems to be a driver of the Melbourne culture. And that's another big reason why he's at number 1. And he definitely deserves it. But the question is, who's your number 1? Who's your 1 to 10 of this AFL redraft? Let me know where I've gone wrong. I'm sure the Collingwood fans will be killing me not putting Maynard in. Equally, the Melbourne and Adelaide fans for not putting Lever in. I'm sure I'll get crucified. But for me, the top 10, which is shown on the screen right now, one of these ones, that is what I think should be the top 10. So let me know in the comments if you agree or not. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow the TikTok, FTFooty, and I'll see you in another video.